Tonight, Interior Minister pledges government's full backing of the IGP following alleged plot to remove the police chief captured on a secretly recorded tape.
I think they should ignore it with the contempt that it deserves. There is no plot to remove anybody. I don't know about anything. As far as I'm concerned, he's doing a good job.
We are live in Parliament where the NDC minority is calling for a probe into the circumstances surrounding the alleged plot to remove the IGP.
For me, rather than dismiss what is contained in the audio, I think I would urge the Interior Minister to take steps and very quickly to get to the bottom of the matter.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, is tonight pledging government's full backing of the Inspector General of Police following an alleged plot to remove the police chief captured on a secretly recorded tape. Mr. Derry says there is no plot by government or the MPP to remove the IGP, Dr. George Akuffo-Dampare, from office. A leaked tape in circulation has a purported senior police officer and some politicians scheming to oust the IGP. We will hear details of what the Interior Minister has been saying pretty shortly. But first, my colleague Samuel Kudo-Brace has been listening to it and provides details.
What I've heard is the two people speaking against the current IGP and saying that if they take him to the election, he's not going to help them. You hear one person say that in election, you have to be brute. You have to use brute force. You cannot always be fair. And that this IGP has been promised by John Mahama to retain him if he becomes the president, and therefore he is not in there to support them. They believe that they have to break the 8. They can't make Baumia the flag bearer and lose the election, and therefore the current IGP has to be changed. The other man says, I don't care if I'm not made the IGP. What I care about is that this IGP be changed.
Excerpts of what was recorded. It's a pretty long tape indeed. In Parliament today, it's generated a fair bit of controversy. A member on the Defence and Interior Committee himself, a former police officer, Peter Tobu, is insisting that this is a subject that cannot be swept under the carpet. He is asking the powers that be to look into it. In fact, he warns that any plot to rig the 2020 for elections using the police will be fiercely resisted by the NPP. We'll hear what he's been saying pretty shortly. Also today, as we've been talking about, we've been hearing from the Interior Minister himself, who has been speaking exclusively to us on the back of this developing story. My colleague, Kweku Asante, caught up with Ambrose Derry in Parliament and asked him whether he's had this leaked tape and what his reaction is to it. Listen.
I think they should ignore it with the contempt that it deserves. There is no plot to remove anybody. I don't know about anything. As far as I'm concerned, he's doing a good job.
And will you investigate if there is a so-called tape of a certain senior police officer and MPP government officials trying to plot anything of the sort?
Well, I serve my president and I'll do what is policy to bring the development of this country. I'm not sure I want to get involved in any investigation thing, except that they relate to crime. Then we'll do that. But I think that so far, I think we are doing well. As far as I'm concerned, what the president of this country made clear, right back to the manifesto of the election before the first time, was that there was a fear syndrome in Ghana, and part of the fear syndrome was that people thought that we had a security system that was not, across board, we favored a particular class of people in office who were too big to be touched, and therefore the tenet of rule of law, that we are equal before the law, was not tenable. And also, we had a professionalism at the time that we were not training people adequately, we were not equipping them. And that's what we sought out to deal with. And therefore, as far as I'm concerned, we've made a lot of progress along that line. And we've had a police system now that is professional, that will arrest you whether you are MP, whether you are minister. When you commit an offense, you are arrested and you are dealt with. And above all, they will arrest you if you are a policeman or policewoman. They will deal with you. And now, under this dispensation, you realize that we've made the right to demonstrate a real right. Tapes and whatever you have will only be useful if they relate to crime. But otherwise, we don't know. But having made that positive determination that this is criminal or not.
Will you take a closer look?
A closer look at what?
At the tape, and then come to a firm conclusion as to whether there's something to pursue.
Do you have something that you have seen that you want to ask me? Then ask.
No, we've heard. For instance, they talk about attempts to tamper with the outcome of the 2024 elections.
That government is planning because of that. You want to take.
Please. Let me make it absolutely clear that this government is not going to tamper with 2024 elections.
Well, the subject of the 2024 elections is something that you also hear on this leak tape. In fact, in that particular tape, you hear the characters talking about how the IGP's professionalism during the Asin North by-election made it hard for the MPP to win the polls, and that it will become an issue in next year's polls. That is something that the minority in Parliament has been scrutinizing today. Peter Tobu, who is himself a former police officer and a member on the Defense and Interior Committee, says that is one that they are very, they're watching pretty closely and will resist if indeed a plot is put in motion ahead of the 2024 elections.
So if you have about 20 commissioners, okay, each of them can become IGP. So the dream to become IGP is a motivation to drive them into all kinds of things of the organization that you join. That is always a dream for every police officer. So the fact that people will lobby to get that position is not a bad thing. But when you are becoming so dirty in your approach, it becomes unprofessional, and you are totally disqualified. Catch the eye of the president.
Finally, Honorable, in the lead up to 2024 election, a lot has been said. Do you believe that you've said so far that the IGP is doing that there may be a plot within the government itself to remove the IGP because some have said he will not allow plans to rig any election? Do you believe that anything of that sort could be happening?
Well, it's not a matter of believing, but it's a matter of saying that whoever thinks that way is undemocratic in the brain. Because if somebody thinks that is the Ayawaso West bygone election type of violence that can lead the MPP to break the age, then it means that we don't want the Fourth Republic. Because anything like Ayawaso West wagon violence, if anything like that surfaces in the 2024 elections, our democracy probably will be gone. Nobody will sit and take that. Let the police do a professional job, let the politicians do professional politics, and let Ghana have a future. That is all.
Well, the leadership on the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament have also been wading into this issue today. I want to bring in my parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, who joins us on the line right now. Kweku, beyond Peter Tobu, this has become a conversation in Parliament. Tell us more.
Right. The ranking member on that committee and the minority spokesperson for Defense and Interior, James Agaga, is weighing in heavily on this. He said he has taken his time to listen to all this. And so we put that to him that the Interior Minister just said that we must ignore that tape. There's no such plot. But he says that the Interior Minister must not just brush this aside. There must be some sort of a full-scale probe into the allegations and the kind of things that were said on the tape.
And I was shocked. If the audio is authenticated, then it would mean that there are people within government circles, the MPP, who have resorted to some evil machinations to subvert the will of the electorate in 2024. That, for me, is an important revelation which must be taken very seriously. There are machinations aimed at what? Subverting the will of the people. Until now, I have never known that we have NDC IGPs, MPP IGPs. I've never known that. I'm hearing this for the first time on the audio that somebody is not an MPP IGP, and so they should bring on board an MPP IGP. If not, election 2024 is going to be difficult for them. Is that a confirmation that Techiman was manipulated with the collusion of our security services? Is that an admission? What does he know about the killings in Techiman? Did he know or have something to do with Ayawasowe's work on by-elections? So the said officer needs to be seriously interrogated. And if it is the authenticity of that audio is established, then he must be charged. His actions, the actions of the one behind that audio, for me, passes for treason. And this matter must be dealt with as such. It passes for treason. It is an attempt to subvert the will of the Ghanaian people. The revelations in that audio are very serious. And so, for me, rather than dismiss what is contained in the audio, I think I would urge the Interior Minister to take steps and very quickly to get to the bottom of the matter.
Kweku is still with me on the line. And Kweku, have we heard anything from the majority side on the Defense and Interior Committee or generally in Parliament, aside the Interior Minister's comments?
Not yet, Evans. This is a topic that's become so big. In fact, if you went to the coffee shop early this morning, MPs were discussing that among themselves. But the majority MPs have been shying away from the topic. They say that they first want an authentication that this is not doctored, this is not AI generated, and that the persons behind them can be unmarked before they can speak to it. So it's been a one-sided conversation, apart from the Interior Minister who has spoken from the NPP fold. That most of the comments, most of the persons who are willing to go on the record have been NDC MPs and NPP MPs have been shying away from the topic for the time being.
Okay, and thankfully, the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee, James Agaga, joins us on the line right now. Mr. Agaga, thanks for your time here on Top Story. This tape has been in circulation for a while. We're now hearing from the Interior Minister, who, yes, endorses the IGP's work. He says he's doing a good job. Gives him the government's full backing. I wonder, since you had this and you get the briefing on a weekly and possibly on a regular basis, do you identify those speaking? Can you vouch that this is something that we can indeed place a bit more value on and trigger investigations as you've already asked for?
Evans, I don't know whose voice it is. I mean, you can hear several voices in the background, but from every indication, one of the voices appears to be a voice of a senior police officer who is close to the seat of government, because the person appears to sound as though he is in line to become IGP if the current IGP were to be removed. And so it raises very serious questions for me. I heard the minister speak to the issue, and the minister appears not to know who the persons responsible for that audio are. And for me, that is the more reason why we should have a probe. This is a very serious matter, Evans. I mean, for people in this time and age to conspire amongst themselves to have the IGP removed so that they can perpetuate a certain party and in government, their reign, I mean, in power. It raises questions. It means that there are some people in this country who are hell-bent on subverting the sovereign will of the Ghanaian people. That cannot be taken lightly, Evans. The security of our country is paramount, and if we have these revelations on our hands, the least we can do is to proceed with the speed of light to commission a probe, and those found culpable punished severely. These things have happened in the past before. I mean, in the course of the revolution, some murders were committed. Judges were killed. The head of state at the time acted with speed. He commissioned the probe,
People were found culpable. They were tried, sentenced to death by firing squad. Warrants were signed, and those culpable were executed. Evans, this is what we expect to see, because this whole thing, this audio, if care is not taken, has the potential to mar the security and safety of our country. We are getting very close to 2024. With this at the back of the minds of, the various political actors, if decisive action is not taken, we're going to see a rise in tension in this country, political tensions, which could compromise the safety of our country. So the president, as the commander-in-chief, chairman of the Security Council, etc., is the principal guarantor of the country's security and must do something about this audio before things get out of hand. Evans.
You listen to the Interior Minister, and he gives the IGP the government's full backing. In fact, he declares that he's done a good job. You believe him?
Well, Evans, this is coming from the Interior Minister. He has oversight over the Inspector General of Police. But that is not enough. What the minister said, the assurances is giving us, is not enough, because we are talking about people who are plotting to achieve a certain goal. And that goal is to topple the current IGP so that whoever replaces him can do the bidding of government, right, in order to perpetuate their continuous stay in power. What that simply means is that regardless of the outcome of the election, we're going to see the abuse of the country's security apparatus with a view to manipulating figures to inure to the benefit of the government. That is a very, very, very serious revelation, which must be dealt with. To merely give us the assurance that government is satisfied with the performance of the IGP does not address the issues raised in the audio at all. At all. And so I would not be carried away by those assurances, Evans.
Please stay with me. I want to bring in Adams Bonner, who is a security analyst. He's also the chief executive of the Security Warehouse Limited. Mr. Bonner, you agree this deserves a full-scale probe? Hello, Mr. Bonner.
Hello, Evans. Your voice is low. I cannot hear you clearly.
Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, yes.
You agree this deserves a full-scale probe?
Can you repeat what you just said, please?
Do you agree it deserves a probe?
Yes, I think yes, it does deserve a probe. The reason why it deserves a probe is because, the persons involved in this leaked tape are senior police officers. They are people who, in one way or the other, would have superintended over a lot of elections in this country. And some of them would have joined the Ghana Police Service probably before 1992, before we ushered in the Fourth Republican Constitution. And so they might even have spent more time in the Ghana Police Service than maybe the Fourth Republic, how old the Fourth Republic is. And so if such persons, are found to be making such regrettable utterances, I would call for an independent probe. I will support an independent probe because, you see, the food we eat, the air we breathe in Ghana, the water we drink, everything we do is connected to our elections and the electoral process and everything. And so as far as I'm concerned, you have police officers who come together and all they are doing is to unseat one of their own just so that they become IGP to perpetuate something that we all know. It's probably an impossibility, if you ask me from where I sit. It is important to know, what did they know that we don't know? We need to know. And we must unmask these people. Understand you are shying away from mentioning names, but technology makes it possible to identify these people and clearly, unmask them. I would want to say they know who they are. Their faces have been splashed over the internet. Their voices have been authenticated, maybe not by your station, but they know who they are. We need to have that, maybe a publicized probe. Mine is that in one way or the other, they said the president had refused to change the IGP, and therefore they needed to use other ways and means to remove him. It means that they themselves are contradicting themselves. What are they trying to do? Because if the president doesn't support, according to the leaked tape, the removal of the IGP, then what on earth were they trying to do by coming together, you can see even the politician who they engaged. The politician was only asking them questions. Do you believe it? Are you sure? And they kept on ranting and saying all manner of regrettable things, Evans.
But that's where I guess it gets a bit more alarming, because as you've said, if these are senior police officers and they are within the service...
Evans, your line, if you can be clearer...
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm saying, that's where it gets a bit more alarming, because if these are senior police officers and they are in the service and plotting against their own IGP and plotting to cause mayhem so one side of the political divide can take an advantage in the 2024 elections, that clearly then deserves a bit more than just a probe, but something along the lines of an internal inquiry by the police themselves.
Well, I tell you what, Evans, what I have recommended since this tape got out, I will tell you that, you know what, the internal, one of them, according to the leaked tape, mentioned himself and said he's just started a 4 months, terminal leave, which means he's going and not coming back home. But technically, that COP, that disgraceful COP, is still a member of the Ghana Police Service. He's still a senior officer in the Ghana Police Service. He should immediately be recalled and interdicted formally, and then a police service inquiry is instituted, whilst probably a public inquiry is instituted. The other person who is not nearing anywhere, going on retirement, he should also face the same, process. Mine is that it will help for us to probably keep the peace we are enjoying at the moment, or else, if we joke, what happened many years ago could befall this country again because of such attitude of some officers who know that what they are scheming to do, what they are trying to do, the law does not support it. Fortunately, these tapes have been leaked, and I think they should be answerable so that to serve Evans as a deterrent to other officers, whether retired, going on retirement, or in active service, to know that do not cross a certain line, because if you cross, you will be punished and disgraced, severely. Evans.
Mr. Maliba, you've called for the probe. Who should do it? The police itself through an internal inquiry, or an external body?
The two procedures could go side by side. Like my brother Adam Bona has indicated, the officer in question, the one who is a commissioner, is still in active service. Never mind that he is about to begin his terminal leave. The police service has its own internal mechanisms for dealing with those who fall foul of the etiquette and discipline of the service. So, yes, he could be recalled and interdicted and dealt with internally. But the question to ask is, to what end? Look, what they have said in that audio could pass for treason. I made the point. Because their actions could actually lead to the subversion of the sovereign will of the Ghanaian people. So, Evans, these are persons who, under normal circumstances, should even be picked up by the NIB, not the police, because they are police officers themselves and could have some influences here and there. They should be picked up by the NIB and properly interrogated. So, the two procedures could go side by side, but what is important is that the probe should be independent in character, so that at the end of the day there are no cover-ups.
Well,
there should be authentication. The appropriate security apparatus should get to the bottom of the matter, and if needs be, appropriate charges preferred. Because they are senior police officers. If you're saying that an IGP be replaced so that you can become the potential successor, and when you become the successor, you can now aid the government to perpetuate its stay in political power. It simply means that you are prepared to subvert the will of the people. That is very, very serious.
I mean,
and which is why I said earlier that the assurances given by the minister, yes, it's welcoming, but we cannot take things for granted.
Will your committee or Parliament venture into looking into this?
We would ask questions, but given the nature of the matter, Evans, if we are the ones tasked to look into this matter, the usual politicization, people would begin to pitch camp and not really look at the matter in a manner that would serve the overall interest of the country. Bearing in mind that we all have a duty to ensure that our democratic experiment, that has seen chalked some successes, is protected at all costs. There's usually a lot of politicization at that level. So I'd rather we had, some, group of experts in place, people who are not amenable to any form of manipulation once they are constituted, to look into this matter rather than ask the committee to handle it. As usual, the politics will take the better part of us, and at the end of the day, we may not chalk the success that is most desirable in these circumstances.
Thank you very much. That's James Ogaga. He is a ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee. Earlier, he had Adams Bona, who is a security analyst and the chief executive of the Security Warehouse Limited. Let me hear from you. 055-1111-997. News Night in a minute.
Hey, you ever buy credits where you get up to 20% of your money back before? Make I tell you about Vodafone's demo promo. See, anytime you recharge a demo, you get up to 20%, whether it be short code or your Vodafone cash wallet, or you don't use credit transfer to your number or someone else. And now you be high tech, so you don't use my Vodafone app or any payment app. However you do, Vodafone go send you up to 20% cash back. Into your Vodafone cash account. Reload here. But then you enter. Top up your airtime with 5 Ghana cedi or more in Vodafone's demo promo. And receive 20% of your money back straight into your Vodafone cash wallet. Recharge and cash out in the Vodafone demo promotion.
Vodafone, further together.
I've got Bell back and I won't let go.
My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Paper chow. Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bell Pack.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, MP for Asin North, James Dachikwesing, fails in his bid to halt daily hearing of his criminal case as the Attorney General declares his resolve to proceed with the trial despite calls for the case to be aborted following Mr. Kwesing's victory in the Asin North by-election.
The judge said that there was no special circumstances warranting her to stay the proceedings. We are disappointed.
It's going to continue as ordered by the court on Friday. We are dealing with law. We are not dealing with sentiments. We are not dealing with politics in court. Politics belongs to political platforms, and we are here in court to talk law and not politics.
We have the latest. Plus, Trade Minister Katie Hammond calls bluff of Dachikwesing after his lawyers cited him for contempt of court.
I said there's precedent. I'm not sure if those lawyers understand what precedent is. So I'll meet him in court.
Also tonight, National Food Suppliers Association rejects proposed part payment of the 270 million debt as fresh information reveals that 400 million cedis has been released to the buffer stock company since 2021.
For 2 weeks now, we've not been able to service out our loans. So releasing part payment to us now will not do us any favor.
We have the very latest for you on that developing story. Also tonight, presidential hopeful Kwabena Japan launches an all-out attack on government's handling of the economy, likening it to one that is currently on a stretcher and a case study for weak economies. He cautions delegates against choosing those who created the problem to lead the party.
We lie on a stretcher. Before the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, Ghana has become, in the eyes of many, a case study of how not to do it. Our party, the MPP, therefore, cannot afford to put forward those who led us to this state.
And in business, Securities and Exchange Commission puts payments of bailout funds to customers of defunct fund management firms at a little over 4 billion Ghana cedis.
In sports, MPP flag bearer aspirant Kwabena Japan calls on government to take charge of sports development and not leave it in the hands of the various federations.
And the Zebra Boys at Disado College show class and might. Cut into size in Fantipim, St. Augustine's and Agri Memorial to retain Goyle regional title.
See, they thought we were bringing a shark, but they didn't know we were having blue whales over there.
You know, we are sharks. There's no time for funeral.
You want to stay with us for that and more here on Newsnight. I also share your thoughts with the rest of the world. 055 1111 997. The Attorney General has come under pressure to abort the criminal trial of Asin North MP James Dachikwesing, including from a serving High Court judge and Paramount Chief of Doma in the Bono region. In fact, Mr. Kwesing himself had taken legal steps to stop the daily hearing of the case. Well, today, he failed in his bid to halt the hearings as the High Court threw out his application while he pursues the matter at the appeals court. The Attorney General's office has meanwhile today declared its resolve to proceed with the trial despite the high-profile calls for the case to be terminated following Mr. Kwesing's victory in the Asin North by-election. I want to go to my colleague with the Legal Affairs Desk, Kojo Nyako, who was in court for us today. Kojo, why did the High Court reject the application for stay filed by Mr. Kwesing's lawyers?
So the court indicated that the argument made by lawyers for the Asin North MP, James Dachikwesing, they were not of exceptional circumstances. And based on that, should they go ahead with a trial and with the case pending at their Court of Appeal, unfair trial, or, there will be fair trial at the courts?
Today, the judge gave the ruling but refused our application. The judge said that there was no special circumstances warranting her to stay the proceedings. We are disappointed. We are dissatisfied. we intend to repeat the application at the Court of Appeal, where we expect a favorable result. As a result of that, we ask the court to enable us file the appeal at the Court of Appeal, the stay of proceeding at the Court of Appeal. That was granted, and so we are back to this court on Friday for the continuation. But what is important is that we are repeating the application at the Court of Appeal because we are dissatisfied.
So that's the director of legal for the NDC, Abraham Maliba, indicating there that they are taking this up at the appeals court. So that's the NDC's reaction to today's happenings in court. What about the Attorney General's office?
So they say that they are faced by the criticisms and reaction from the general public. In fact, they are in court based on law. And so we've been speaking with Deputy Attorney General Alfred Twayebwa.
Indicated. This is a court of law. It's not a court of political gimmicks or razzmatazz. It's for us to speak law and talk law in court. We talk law, we spoke law, and we are vindicated. It's going to continue as ordered by the court on Friday. And Friday, our witness will be in court to continue with the cross-examination. It's within their right to do so, but their filing does not automatically stay proceedings of the trial court. If they file, we will respond accordingly. But to us, we are dealing with law. We are not dealing with sentiments. We are not dealing with politics in court. Politics belongs to political platforms. Law belongs to the courts. And we are here in court to talk law and not politics.
And last week you were in court and you reported that the court was overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of members of parliament on the NDC side who had showed up on that day to solidarize with James Achikwesing. And as a result of that, we know last week Parliament had to adjourn. They could not work. What happened today?
Well, so they came in their droves. I mean, the minority members of parliament. In fact, I saw their leader, Kessie Lato-Forson. I saw Dominic Aine. I saw a lot of them. Some couldn't still get seats to sit on in the courtroom and so had to stand throughout the trial and the proceedings. So some of them have been sharing their thoughts about the ruling by the court.
Terribly disappointed. I mean, I was just telling someone that elsewhere, the charge sheet would have probably read the people versus Jackie Kwesing. And the question that would have run through anybody's mind is, where are the people? On whose side are the people? I mean, because this whole prosecution, a criminal case, is to be done in the name and on behalf of the people, especially the people of Asin North. If you are prosecuting a person like Jackie Kwesing on the, reasons that you are prosecuting him, it is probably because you think that he has perpetuated something against the people of Asin North. They have spoken. They say that's how they want it. So if you are doing a prosecution in the name of the people, it must be seen, like they say, to actually be in the name of the people. This trial is not in the name of the people.
I'll take it to Parliament pretty shortly, but the latest to add his voice to calls for the criminal trial to be abandoned is Center for Democratic Development Fellow, Professor Kweku Asare, who says there is no legal basis to continue the criminal trial.
Are you a citizen of a country other than Ghana? And the Supreme Court steps in and says, guys, stop playing. This question of do you owe allegiance to a country other than Ghana is inherently ambiguous. It's vague. And so we are going to step in and tell the nation what that phrase means. Now, let's think about that, because there are certain consequences that flow from that. Evans, if a question is ambiguous, as the Supreme Court has stated, then an answer to that ambiguous question can never be perjurious. You cannot perjure yourself when you've answered a question that is ambiguous, because what the court is saying is the government understood the phrase differently from the person who was responding. So then, what is the basis for continuing with the criminal prosecution? The Supreme Court, one of the implied consequential action of assuming jurisdiction was that the perjury case should be discontinued because we did not know the meaning of owing allegiance to a country other than Ghana until Justice, what's the name of the justice who wrote the opinion? Until Justice until Justice Amegache told us what allegiance to a country other than Ghana meant. We did not know what it means. And if we did not know what it means, then as a matter of law, a perjury claim fails and the whole staff should be discontinued, either by the Attorney General or even the court itself.
Let me bring in Abraham Amaliba. He is a director of legal for the NDC. Joins us on the line right now. Mr. Amaliba, you said that you would be repeating the application for stay, which was thrown out today at the appeals court. Have you filed that yet?
We'll be doing that between tomorrow and Thursday. And not that alone, we intend to file an application for certiorari at the Supreme Court. So these two documents will be filed between Wednesday and Thursday.
What's an application for certiorari?
Oh, just to quash the ruling of the judge. It's a supervisory jurisdiction that the Supreme Court has over lower courts.
Why do you want to do that?
We want to do that because it is in the interest of our clients. The matters that we talked about, the reason for which we asked for the stay, are so pertinent to the determination of the daily trials. And so, if, in our view, we feel that the High Court judge erred in giving that ruling, we have every right to go to the Supreme Court for a certiorari.
Today we spoke to the Deputy Attorney General, who was clear that this is a court of law, and they came there talking law, and they were not doing politics, although people had gone public, high-profile voices to say this trial must be aborted. They spoke law to the judge, and the judge bought into that their message. You can see that they have a stronger case on this one.
I'm not sure the Deputy Attorney General was saying that the processes we filed were not known to the law, and that those documents, stay of proceedings, are political documents. I'm not sure that's what he's saying. He may be talking about those who were of the view that the Attorney General should truncate the process through a nollie. I have no qualms about that. He can continue on that trajectory. But the processes that we filed and the ones we are going to file, I just told you, repeating the application, and then a certiorari application, no Attorney General, worth resort, will ever say they are political documents.
Mr. Maliba, please stay with me, because also today, in fact yesterday, we learned that lawyers for James Atuquesing have also filed a contempt of court suit against Katie Hammond, the Trade Minister. I want to go to Parliament now and bring in my parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, who has actually been speaking to Katie Hammond. Kweku, you tracked him down, and I saw the video. Katie Hammond was constantly in motion while you pursued him with the questions. How has he been reacting to the contempt of court suit against him?
Well, he really thinks that it is a much ado about nothing. He says that he's unfazed. He's willing to meet Atuquesing and his lawyers in court. He does not believe that there is anything that he has said that is contemptuous of the court, and that he has been served duly. He will beat them in court, and then he will make sure that that application is torn into shreds.
Atuquesing's lawyers have cited you for contempt. Well, how do you respond?
That what am I supposed to have done?
They said that you made prejudicial comments that you will go to jail.
To what effect? What is this? I said there's precedent. I'm not sure if those lawyers understand what precedent is, but I think I predicated my statement with the fact that there is what in legal terms called a precedent. So I'll meet him in court. Some substitute on me. They played the game on me to serve me with a document. But, I mean, why would they have to do that? I accepted it. You know.
Someone is accompanied with some kind of, they call evidence. Have you said that? A publication that accompanied the summons.
That's not the point. Listen, I don't run away from my responsibilities. I made a statement here in Parliament. If they want to take me up in court, yes, of course. At the end of the day, that's where these matters end up. So what's the big deal about it?
Well, quick, stay with me. Mr. Maliba, you heard Katie Hammond there. He says he'll meet Judge Kweson's lawyers in court. He doesn't see what he's done wrong there. Your reaction?
Say it again, Evans.
You heard Katie Hammond there. He says he'll meet James Kweson's lawyers in court. I mean, I wonder why they felt the need to cite him for contempt of court.
Oh, he was on Oiripa radio or the TV station making prejudicial comments, comments that you could describe as sub-judice, because the matters are in court and he's still commenting on them and making definite statements. If he's calling our bluff, at this stage he's a lawyer. He knows that you are served with an application for injunction, for contempt, it is no longer in the hands of the accused person. It is in the hands of the court. And so he's rather calling the bluff of the court. I thought that when he was served with the application, he was livid. That shows that he was so angry because he didn't think that this would have happened. But if he's now putting up a brave face, well, it is between he and the court. So we wait to see what happens.
Thank you very much, Amaliba. Kweku, today we saw the NDC MPs again going to court in their numbers to support James Kwesing. How did that affect parliamentary sitting today in parliamentary business?
Well, mainly, again, there were a number of questions that were on the other paper that were in the name of NDC MPs, and they had to ask that. And because they were not available, those questions had to be deferred. They had to take the majority leader, Evans Mensah, to explain that if it were up to him alone, and as has been consistently argued by the NPP majority, once the questions and the answers have been advertised, they must be taken as answered. But because that is not a decision he has to take alone, those questions will now have to be deferred.
Kweku, thank you very much. You're still live here on News Night. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the National Food Suppliers Association is tonight rejecting any proposed part payment of the 270 million debt owed them. This comes after the Education Minister disclosed to the leadership of the food suppliers that it has made a total of 400 million cedis to the buffer stock company as of January 2023, meant to clear the arrears. The group suspended a 4-day picketing of the National Food Buffer Stock Company last Friday after the government promised to pay the debt. We'll hear from the food suppliers on their new position pretty shortly, but first, listen to the Agric Minister Brian Champon assuring them of payment of all validated claims by July 17.
The promise that was given to buffer stock that by the 17th they will receive the set of payments that, the request that they have made to our financial authorities. That request has been met, and from the 17th they will pay them. If they have waited just about another 30 days, they will see that they would have received their money without an invitation to pick it.
So that was the Agric Minister last week. Today, the Education Minister met them. My colleague James Avegi is in the studio with me. James, they met the Education Minister and they learned a few more things as far as the payment is concerned. Give us specifics.
Exactly, Evan. So from that meeting, it was revealed that a total of 418 million Ghana cedis have been paid by the Education Ministry to the buffer stock company within the periods of 2021, 2022, and 2023. And so they gave a breakdown. For instance, in 100 million Ghana cedis was paid first, and then a total of 283 was paid in 2022, and then in January 2023, some 35 million Ghana cedis was paid again, and so that gives you the 418 million Ghana cedis. Now, what they are saying is that it is worth to note that even though the minister is said to have released an amount of 283 million Ghana cedis in 2022 to the buffer stock company for payment of arrears in 2022, members of the National Food Suppliers Association is yet to receive any penny of the said amount. And so those were the revelations from the ministry, for which reason they are saying that if indeed these amounts have been released over the 3 years period, especially in 2022, which amount arrears they are claiming, if these amounts have been released, then any proposal to give them a part payment of this, they will not accept that.
So what does this mean for the negotiations?
What it means is that it is now left on the buffer stock company to come and give clarification on whether indeed they have received this total amount of payment and what that money have been used for, because we know that the food suppliers are one of their major agents they engage in their work, and so if they have not used this money to pay them, then it is left on their part to give clarification on what those monies have been used for.
Well, last week when the protests and picketing, they've been sleeping, bathing, eating on the premises of the Food Buffer Stock Company. When it escalated, the minority members stormed the premises, and there was a clash between themselves and the Agric Minister. Today, I understand they've actually have issued another statement on the back of what we've just been reading. What's your position now?
Exactly. So that statement is signed by the ranking on the Education Committee, especially as the Education Ministry is now at the center of this. Dr. Clementa Park signed that. Now, the statement has actually been given some figures as to the amount of monies Parliament has approved to the Education Ministry with regards to the free senior high school. We know that the food delivery, the food supply is supposed to go to the free senior high school program. And so they said that within the periods of 2021 and 2023, the Parliament has approved a total of 11.9 billion Ghana cedis between 2017 and 2023. Now, the specifics is that between 2021 and 2023 in question, Parliament has approved a total of 7.62 billion Ghana cedis. Now, the ranking notes that according to records available to Parliament, only 5.3 billion Ghana cedis out of the 7.62 billion Ghana cedis approved for the free senior high school have been used, which means that a surplus of 2.5 billion Ghana cedis is sitting somewhere that the Education Ministry hasn't used yet. And so what they are saying is that looking at all of these figures, they are surprised that the food suppliers are coming out to protest over an arrears. And so they are entreating the Education Ministry through the buffer stock company to actually go for those arrears and pay the debt that these people are actually clamoring for.
Thank you very much, James. Let's bring in the spokesperson for the Food Suppliers Association, Kweku Ameduma, joins us right now. Ms. Ameduma, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. You met the Education Minister today, and he showed you the payments that have been made to the Food Buffer Stock Company over the years. From what I understand, having seen the details, you hold an eye position that says you will not accept part payment. The Agric Minister's assurance to you was that they will pay everything once it's validated. Have you received any update from him on that?
Thank you very much. I'd like to say good evening to you and your listeners. Yes, today we met the Minister of Education. In fact, the invitation was at his instance. And so we honored that invitation this morning. And in fact, it was a friendly exchange, and he did acknowledge that he has heard our issues on the airwaves, and he just felt the need to invite us to explain some few things to us. Other than that, he doesn't see why he must come in, because he only has a contract with buffer stock, and his commitment under that contract is he goes, or he sources for the fund from the Ministry of Finance, and then releases those funds to the buffer stock to release to we the suppliers. And so he has no dealing with suppliers of foodstuff. That he wants to establish and establish very clear for us to understand. And then he went on to say that in 2021, he released 100 million cedis in full settlement of the arrears in 2021. In latter part of 2022, he released a total amount of 283 million Ghana cedis. And in the early part of 2023, he released an amount of 35 million Ghana cedis, which brings the total to 418 million Ghana cedis. And so he also made the point that no government official has the intention of frustrating suppliers. And so, in fact, free SHS is the most prided policy of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and that he wants to leave free SHS as a legacy. And so he doesn't joke, and he has warned every appointee to be very careful in dealing with issues of free SHS. And so, as for releasing money, he had released chunk of it. And so we should calm down, and he's in talk with the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Brian Achampong, and that Honorable Brian Achampong is committed to ensuring that our monies are paid in due time, because he's shown much interest and they have been communicating regards to our matter, and so we should calm down. And he also made the point that, but we should not expect the full settlement of our debt, because the government doesn't have money now. There's no money anywhere. So we were trying to find out how much that we are expecting, or how much is coming, and when is it coming. And as to when the money will be coming, he indicated within the week.
In fact, he said 17th, if I recall correctly.
Hello?
He says from the 17th, if I recall correctly.
Say again.
Brian Champon said the monies will they will start paying the monies from the 17th.
That's what he said. That's what he said. So, in fact, we were of the opinion that waiting for another time for us to take the balance of our payments is going to aggravate our issues. Because here is the case. We've been out of business for some time now. Our money that has been with government is over 2 years with accrued interest from the bank.
Yeah, but last week, forgive me, because of time, but last week you gave him the assurance that you wait for the 17th and then start receiving the payment. Has that changed?
No, I mean, what the indications that were given by the minister today was that he is releasing the funds, and he is telling us that we are not getting the full payment of what we are supposed to get. And he indicated that he wished he could have the power to release the money to us, but he has to release it to buffer stock. And he even said that he would give public notice anytime the money lands into his account. So what I'm saying is that there has been that clarity that we're not getting the full payment. But whatever it is, we still have opportunity to meet Honorable Brian Achampong, in fact, who has also demonstrated considerable interest in our matter. And Minister of Education has also given us assurance that he is the best person to solve our issues. So we are looking forward to meeting the minister. We are looking forward to having him honor the promise he's given us, because it is untenable to tell us to go back and then come back for our balance when we have incurred a lot of expenditure into taking this money from government.
So your protest remains suspended. You are waiting to hear from Brett Champon before you decide what you want to do. But from what I'm hearing you say, you no longer accept part payment of what you're owed.
Yes, it doesn't mean we are going back to picket. I mean, we have opportunities to exhaust. We have the Minister of Agri to meet. We have the Buffer Stock CEO to talk to. We have a lot of, in fact, we've been giving up to 17.
But have you had any clarity? So if the buffer stock company, according to the education minister, has received the funds, what they use the funds for instead of paying you?
That I'm not able to speak to.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Amedume, for your time on this subject. I want to stay with education a while longer because it was a major controversy too that pitched teachers across the country against education authorities following the mass failure of prospective teachers who sat for the Ghana Teachers Licensure Examination. Well, today the education minister has intervened, setting up a 7-member committee to investigate the matter. Out of the more than 7,000 candidates who wrote the exams, more than 6,000 failed, representing 83.5%. Well, the education minister, Dr. Yao Seiduchum, has been speaking today at a news conference.
The committee is looking at the extent to which the Ghana Teacher Licensure exam is aligned with the national teacher standards and other supporting policies or framework, such as the pre-tertiary curriculum. So, and then look at the quality of students being admitted into the teacher education institutions relative to the grade and program of specialization at the senior high schools. Also look at the selection process of students going into teacher education institutions, and also look at the possibility of integrating Ghana Teacher Licensure exams in terms of the curriculum, the assessment framework into the assessment at the institutions, and then examining best practices globally and advising the minister. But the most important thing to me is that we need to ensure that there are prep materials for those who are going to take the exams.
Well, I want to bring in right now the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Nat Thomas Musa. Mr. Musa, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. So there is now a committee set up by the Education Minister to look into why so many of these prospective teachers, some of them actually 7 teachers, failed the licensure exams. You endorse this move?
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, and to all your listeners. In fact, when the news broke out from NTC, we requested for a national dialogue. And so once we have this committee in place, it is our hope that at the end of the day, whatever reports come out, all of us should be given the opportunity to discuss the report and the way forward. Because it is very, very important that what has happened, you cannot write an exam and have 85% of your people failing and taking it for granted. The question we need to ask is, were they in KG? Did they go to primary school, JHS, SHS, and for that matter, the university, to the extent that we're told that some of them, they have master's degrees and all that. So these are not things that we can take lightly, particularly taking into consideration the human capital development of Ghana. So it is our hope that regardless of how everything, whatever happens, at the end of the day, the whole community and stakeholders must be engaged so that together we can all see how best we can salvage where we are now or the situation we find ourselves in.
Also joining us is Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare. Kofi, you heard the minister there. This is something that he believes at least will give us a clearer picture why this happened. What's your view on the approach?
Good evening to your choice audience. I think that the minister has a point in instituting a probe through a board-based committee. If you look carefully at the committee's mandate, it goes beyond just looking at the results. Okay, it is actually, I see it as the first political level review of the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination, because the committee is, among others, looking at the possibility, of fusing the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination into the COEs, or if you like, moving it to the faculty level to explore the possibilities. And that's a major policy reform intent. The committee is also looking into the quality of entrance into our education faculties. And again, that is broad. So if you look at it carefully, it goes beyond just the result of the current receipt to holistically look at, the Ghana Teacher License Examination. Specific to the results of the receipt, obviously the committee is looking at the assessment methods. They will be interested in finding out whether the assessment items, are aligned to the national teaching standards and all that. So eventually we should have a report that goes beyond just a review of the results of the receipt, which was not good, and then a basis to discuss the future of the Ghana Teacher License Examination. So I think it's a step in the right direction.
And very quickly to you, Mr. Musa, looking at the teacher licensure examinations, is it something that NAT still endorses, accepts as a legitimate way of determining the qualification of teachers?
Well, you see, we don't discuss. When you take the issues out of context, then we will have difficulty. When you discuss the whole thing together. Certainly, there should be an assessment to ensure that we get the best teachers to teach our children. That's one we cannot take it away. There should certainly be a way of assessing the entrance into people who want to enter into the teaching profession. There should be a way of assessing them. Currently, what we have is the licential exams. Unless maybe we can get a better way of doing assessment than what we have now. But the key point is this. You see, for several occasions, you have when an issue happens, you will hear that a committee has been constituted. 3, 4, 5, or 3 weeks down or 4 weeks down the line, you don't hear anything again. When the report comes out, you don't hear, the content of the report and all those things. That is why the Ghana National Association of Teachers, we requested for a national dialogue. The National Education Forum, let people, the think tanks, all stakeholders, let us meet and debate the issues. What exactly are the issues? Okay, so that it will not be that when the report comes, I don't want to hear of it again and the thing will die a natural death. As it stands now, we cannot establish all the people can just say that, look, this thing is happened because of this and because of this. We believe that if the commission, after the committee's work, if the report will be put, before all of us, or for all of us to discuss it, fine. But it should not be that, and like I'm saying, historically, anytime you have such committees, when the report comes out, you don't see it. You don't see it. And that is why we requested for a national dialogue.
Thank you very much, Thomas Musa. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Earlier, he had Kofi Asare, who is Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. Still ahead, presidential hopeful Kwabena Japan launches an all-out attack on government's handling of the economy, likening it to one that is currently on a stretcher and a case study of how not to run an economy.
We lie on a stretcher. Before the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, Ghana has become, in the eyes of many, a case study of how not to do it. Our party, the MPP, therefore, cannot afford to put forward those who led us to this state.
And later, the Zebra Boys at Desado College, they show class and might, cutting to size Infantipim, St. Augustine's and Agri Memorial to retain the Goyle regional title.
See, they thought we were bringing a shark, but they didn't know we were having blue whales over there.
We are sharks. There's no time for funeral.
And Georgia is grinning from ear to ear anytime he hears a national science and maths quiz sick tune, because yes, we know you serve a living God.
Yeah, we're waiting for them at the nationals, Presec,
okay.
Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, and let's see who is the real champion.
It's okay
when it comes to this. I said Belante. That's not sense. And that's case.
Are you sure you went to school at Presec?
Well, there's only one Presec Legon.
Oh, I see. I sure
and that's
you
why
didn't go to Opera.
And that's where I belong. So
you didn't go to Opera.
I don't think
you didn't
so.
go to Supresec.
No, there's only one Presec Legon.
Okay,
that's where I belong.
Okay, what do you have in the headlines? Of
well, coming up, Securities and Exchange Commission puts payment of bailout funds to customers of defunct fund management firms at a little over 4 billion Ghana cedis as it assures of working to settle the arrears. And Chamber of Petroleum Consumers describe a prudent decision by some oil market players to resume participation in Gold for Oil program as a good move, as insist they will still push to ensure the right things are done. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
If home is where the heart is, then let's go home. Shall we? Let's go where the entertainment is. Where the passion is. Where the laughter is. And sometimes even the tears too. Let's go where we feel safe enough to share our opinions.
And send tweets.
Where we do that embarrassing little dance to our favorite song. Let's go home where the love, the care, and the joy live.
There's no place like home. Connect your home to super fast internet with affordable data bundles from MTN Home. Visit broadband.mtn.com.gh or your My MTN app to sign up today. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302-764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website, www.kingdomgh.com.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244-335-168, Kumasi 0505-555-666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a year strong, a year tough. Do you know Flamingo Paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take 1 bucket of Flamingo Paint, it's equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo Paint, superior hiding. Flamingo Paint, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, superior durability. Flamingo Paint, simply superior.
I'm a way. Yeah.
dia sambisanda mo. Eti emratia no. Mumu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodompe mo man yakono.
Eye kwabna.
Na mumu hwan so na tumi just mali memma ye nyina de.
Eye kojo.
Enu kro. Kobre tumi hwe na bodompe mo sense o yusu accident eba. Aye den aban ne do braye. Bo si eti na mo ban na sem mana ho de ne.
Sa.
Ani na kudwo nso yusu accident chako. Na enu ne de e ma wo se wo ye kregen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo memma na feel you.
Ey kojo. Sa.
Yeah. Pepsodent Eba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie.
Yakono natural. FDIJ Trading Katuyatu.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Securities and Exchange Commission has revealed that it has so far made some significant payment in bailout package to customers of the defunct fund management firms. The commission puts the amount at 4.6 billion Ghana cedis. There is more in this report.
The Securities and Exchange Commission in a circular noted that the Finance Ministry has paid about 4.6 billion Ghana cedis in partial and full bailout package to customers of these liquidated fund management firms. According to the Securities and Exchange Commission, 3.1 billion Ghana cedis was disbursed to the amalgamated fund for Tier 1 payment. There was also another 1.45 billion Ghana cedis payment that was captured under the Tier 2 funds. The regulator of the capital market sector also announced this included bailout payment of up to 50,000 Ghana cedis to clients of Black Shield Capital and other companies that had not received winding up orders from the court that their claims had not been validated. The Commission has maintained that it is committed to taking measures to ensure that all customers of these liquidated funds get their monies. The Securities and Exchange Commission has also maintained that it will take measures to ensure that only firms that have the required license are allowed to operate in the space.
And that is the Business Tech report. No later development. Registrar of Companies Jima Mawari had earlier revealed that payment of remaining funds to the Black Shield fund management customers will be dependent on securing liquidation order from the courts. But Mawari says the management of Black Shield has been the main stumbling block.
The owners of Black Shield are fighting the official liquidator in court. They do not want to be liquidated. And the bailout package was such that we can only issue out that package to creditors or investors who invested in the fund management companies if only we get the official liquidation order. I need the liquidation order to kickstart the bailout package to the various. I can't do anything about that, unfortunately. And the law courts are the law courts. They have their own rules.
Registrar of Companies, Madam Jemima Wari. The Bank of Ghana is expected to start its first sale of dollar auction to bulk oil distribution companies for the third quarter this week. Sources say about $20 million should be up for auction. Now, this is part of the $120 million that the central bank is expected to sell from July to September this year. But for the bulk oil distribution companies, they're only looking at the impact of this on prices of petroleum products, but the Ghana cedi as well. Dr. Patrick Okuofori is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distribution Firms.
This will certainly have a positive impact on the city's stability, because if you check the market last Friday, a bit of uncertainty. People didn't have a clarity whether the auction was going to continue. So as usual, people were going to go to the market the coming week to as a form of engaging or form of deals and then lock-in rate. But with the central bank coming up with this, it gives some sense of assurance and some sense of certainty to enable both bankers and our partners to plan and structure the various trading arrangements that they can help to do that.
Dr. Patrick Okuofori is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distribution Firms. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers have described that as prudent decision by some oil market players to resume participation in the Gold for Oil program. The Chamber maintains that this might go a long way to impact positively on product supply and prices. Executive Secretary of the Chamber, Duncan Amwa, says they will also continue to push for the right things to be done when it comes to this program.
Continue to hold the feet of government to the fire to ensure that they don't just overshoot the runway and cause disaster or danger for all of us. So we will continue to ask questions. We'll continue to analyze whatever policy options they put on the table. We don't do so out of malice. We do so with a view to ensuring that the taxpayer is not kept in some difficult place where at the end of the day you would hear we've traded, boss has made losses. So the taxpayer who had no idea how pricing was done, how trading was done, is called upon to pay.
Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa. Now, Associate Finance Professor at the Andrews University, USA, Professor William Tupua, says the swift intervention by government to begin payment of coupons and principals of some individual bondholders should help bring some stability on the financial market. Professor Tupua was reacting to the suspension of intended picketing by the individual bondholders following government's reassurance of meeting all payment obligations due them.
When you have a lot of money coming into circulation, is to induce inflation, because those who have received their coupons and principals will be thinking of expanding or consumption. It's good news. It's going to boost the economy, but it must be done in a way that will bring equilibrium within the financial sector. So some of the banks probably will also be coming out with products that will enhance savings to improve their deposit collections from these bondholders.
Associate Professor The Andrews University, USA, Professor Williams Pepra. To the stock market, if you were a shareholder of Access Bank, you lost 10 pesos, and the value of its share that you're holding right now is worth 3 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. For Total shareholders, there was a lot to smile about, as the value of its share being held or holding was up by 58 pesos to close at 6 Ghana cedis, 70 pesos. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. And it has to be the Blue Magic Illuminatus Videspimos Lumer. In the light, we shall see light.
Okay, thank you very much, George. And we shall see the light when it comes to the real deal of the national contest.
From God.
Let's talk sports now. And Daniel Cranting is here. Daniel, there's a man who used to be a sports commentator who now wants to be president. He's been speaking today.
Yeah, he's been speaking. MPP flag bearer aspirant Kwabena Ejapon. He's called on government to take full charge of the development of football in the country. He says leaving such a critical role in the hands of only the GFA is a major cause of the falling standards of football in the country. He spoke during the launch of his presidential campaign in Accra earlier today.
My passion for sports is public knowledge. Nevertheless, Ghana cannot be the jack of all sports and master of none. Soccer, boxing, athletics will obviously be prioritized with a focus on school sports and cold soccer. We've got to revive the interest in our Premier League and restore the organic link that used to exist between our communities and traditional football teams. And of course, the all-important role of government in football administration in Ghana.
You had NPP flag bearer aspirant Kwabena Ejapon speaking there. That's all for sports. The sports was brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Pepsodent, every smile matters. Back to you, Evans.
Thank you very much, Daniel Cranting. And we stay with the theme of Kwabena Ejapon's launch today. And he has also been challenging his party, the MPP, to be honest and admit that it has struggled to deliver, especially on the economy. Listen to him speak at the official launch of his campaign.
We must be honest enough to admit that the Akufo-Addo government, despite chalking successes in road and health infrastructure, tourism, and of course education, it has struggled to deliver on a number of fronts. We started out saying that we're breaking dependency on the Western donor agencies. The slogan, Ghana Beyond Aid, rang from the Jubilee House with intensity and vigor. But today, we lie on a stretcher before the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and Ghana has become, in the eyes of many, a case study of how not to do it. It is true that the international climate has been hostile, but how many countries have had inflation skyrocket to 54%? And in fact, food inflation hitting the roof. And our city only just slightly recovering after a wild tailspin last year. These are stark signals of economic distress, and we cannot hide these facts. We've had to endure a painful debt exchange program with our pensioners laying siege at the finance ministry. Our party, the MPP, cannot afford to put forward those who led us to this state. I want to repeat myself. Our party, the MPP, therefore, cannot afford to put forward those who led us to this state and expect Ghanaians to embrace them during the 2024 election. We need a new face, a pair of clean hands, a leader to reconnect with our base and end the trust of Ghanaians. I humbly submit, I, Kwabena Ejepon, offer the hope of a fresh start for Ghana.
And that's Kwabena Ejepon there. He's a former General Secretary of the MPP, now seeking to lead the party into the 2024 elections. Now, police are in the Ashanti region. They have arrested a police corporal for allegedly destroying the security door to the house of another policeman to steal several bags of cement. A resident heard an unusual noise of the break-in and alerted another neighbor of the incident. Him interior of our security desk has more.
The policeman and his accomplice, 25-year-old tricycle rider Mohammed Seidu, are said to have used a pickaxe to destroy and break into a foreign-made security door of the room where 200 bags of cement were being kept. The two fled the scene, leaving a tricycle behind before the arrival of other neighbors who later reported the incident to a police night patrol team. Traces of the tricycle led to the arrest of Seidu, who mentioned Corporal Umar as the other accomplice. He led the police to the home of Umar, who led police to where he kept 12 bags of cement from the crime. Evangelist Richard Ampa witnessed the arrest.
I was at home by 12 a.m. and I got a call that the house that we are working on it, somebody has break it. And I came here, and it is true. The person used pickers to break the China door. It is a very hard door, but he managed to break it. And the cement there was about 55 cement. After investigation, when the police arrived, they suspect him. And at the end of the day, he shows that it is him who took the cement. And he showed the place he has put the cement to.
The arrest of Corporal Lansa Umar has left residents of Nyinahini, including Evangelist Ampa, a mason who works for Umar, shocked.
I know the policeman very well, but I don't know why she did this. I don't expect him to do this. It's very bad. And as at now, I'm confused because as a policeman, you know the laws, the rules and regulations that govern the country. So we have to do it so that you come to arrest us. But for a policeman to still, I have heard it, but I haven't seen it before. But now they have seen that they can do it.
Meanwhile, police sources say the two will be put before court soon. From Nyinahini in the Ashanti region for Joy News, Ohime Nteria reporting.
And I want to take you to Cape Coast now, where the Zebra Boys at Desado College have shown class and might, cutting to size Infantipim, St. Augustine's and Agri Memorial to retain the Goyo Regional title of the National Science and Maths Quiz. Michael Ashali has more.
Arguably one of the best regional championships throughout the 2023 year. At the end of the day, it was the Zebra Boys managed to sail through, defending their title.
If we've lost it, that doesn't mean we lose the nationals.
On this side of the auditorium, the gentlemen in red seem to be in a funeral mood, and they came dressed certainly for the occasion, wearing their red on black.
It feels sad, but that's what you can do. You will bounce back later on.
That is cool. All the best and better luck next time to St. Augustine's and Agri Memorial. That's it for News Night tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening.